This is a PowerPoint on Reno Priest, one of my favorite decks and a super fan favorite deck. So when Reno Priest first came out, of course you had Reno that came out in League of Explorers, then you had Raza the Chain and Kazakis that came out in Mean Streets of Gadgetzan. It was middling, especially compared to what came later. I will be honest, I'm not too familiar with this exact time period, but from my understanding, it didn't really get to do anything until we got to a certain card. Of course, if you don't know what they do, Kazakis would let you craft a custom potion. Reno heals you to full health if you have no duplicates, and Raza makes it so your hero power costs 0 for the rest of the game. Of course, Kazakis fell off probably close to 2 years ago by now, but Raza's still holding on strong. Then you have Shadow Reaper Anduin. This is the card that really set the wheels in motion for Reno Priest. Every time you play a card, your hero power void form refreshes, so you can deal 2 damage to your opponent for free every single time you play a card. So if you have a bunch of 1 mana cards, you can deal crazy damage to your opponent, and over the game, this is going to be enough to kill them, and it was for a long, long time. Of course, this style definitely was sped up due to other cards, but honestly, Shadow Reaper Anduin, very cool card. He's seen play in other decks as well, such as Big Priest, and he's just a very iconic card. One of the best legendaries ever printed. However, we'll get to that later. Then you have Zephyrus the Great, which was introduced in Saviors of Old Doom. After Raza rotated from Standard, it was nerfed to only refresh your hero power by 1, which means Zephyrus the Great was not enough to save Reno Priest, even though Zephyrus is such an iconically powerful card. Some people consider it one of the best cards ever printed, and it was not able to save the deck enough. That being said, eventually Raza was reverted, and we immediately saw just how powerful it was to use with Zephyrus. You were able to ramp with Wild Growth and get to your Raza a lot sooner, and then your Anduin a lot sooner. Raza 5, Anduin 8, R5A8 is the iconic term for it. And then even today, you still run Zephyrus just because it's such a good Swiss Army knife card. You can ramp, you can get damage, you can clear a board. He's just so powerful in Reno decks, especially ones like Reno Priest. Then you have Dark Bishop Antonidas. This card was unreal for Reno Priest. You went from having your terrible heal hero power, which would heal 2, to now you have Shadow Form, which deals 2 damage. This was so big for the deck because Holy Spells already weren't that amazing. So trading that off for an upgraded hero power is insane. Being able to ping your opponent's face and soften them up throughout the game is great. Being able to ping minions so you can actually have a better chance of fighting for board is great. This card is so strong. It doesn't matter if it's just a useless 5/6 when you draw it, just because of the power of the hero power. The power of the hero power. Say that 10 times fast. Honestly, I think that Reno Priest would have fallen by the wayside if it weren't for the inclusion of Dark Bishop Benedictus, and that says a lot about the power level of Wild, to be honest. Then, of course, you have Reno Lone Ranger. It was obviously going to get to this card. This card was very good in Reno Priest. It's still great in Reno Priest. It's actually amazing. The whole purpose of this card was originally when it was 8 mana, you'd use it as a one-time removal, then you would swap to Antonidas almost exclusively. You would never want to have Reno up because the Antonidas hero power was still better than all the other Reno hero powers, and it made it so you couldn't ping your opponent to death throughout the game. Of course, that's not what it is anymore, as we get to Raza the Resealed, the final nail in the coffin for Shadow Reaper Anduin. What is there to say? This card is 5 mana. It makes it so your hero power has the Shadow Reaper Anduin hero power effect, and it makes it so you can have Reno Lone Ranger not having to worry about playing Shadow Reaper Anduin after. This card really did fuck over its best friend. You know? Raza fucked over its best friend in Shadow Reaper Anduin, and that's really sad. There's no reason to play the card anymore. It's strictly just worse than Raza the Resealed nowadays, and it's really unfortunate because Shadow Reaper Anduin was one of the best legendary cards ever printed. Now, it's just unplayable because of this card. In conclusion, I like Reno Priest a lot. I think it's a relatively high-skill deck to pilot in Wild, especially right now. In the past, it was really strong. It was a tier 1 deck, best deck in the game once Raza was reverted for probably about a year. But as time got on, it got slower and slower. You needed more and more things to buff the deck, and they did come, but they're not too individually powerful compared to things that happen now. And yeah, if you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Do you like Reno Priest? Do you like anything else? Tell me what other deck archetype you would like to talk about next, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Rising again!
Darker than they've ever been.